So we have a new series joining Shonen Jump this week, and unfortunately, Build King was axed, and this is the series taking its place. Regardless, I will end up, giving this a good, solid try. I like the chapter, actually, just going into it. I thought the first chapter was fairly good. The premise is really weird. I think it's one of those series you're gonna have to just get used to the oddness of how it's set up, because the potential in the plot actually has some has my curiosity. I like the general layout of what's going on, and the main character, like I said, I like her. I think she's actually kind of funny so far. And one thing that wasn't really mentioned in this chapter, but just from a notice and what was displayed a little bit, is she has to be really strong. I don't know what the candy probably has to weigh, but I mean that has to still be at least a couple 100 pounds, I would assume. And there's a part where she's actually running of some pretty good speed, so she's probably got just general enhanced abilities. It's really weird. So those who haven't read it, or just might be peering into the review of the first chapter to see if they want to check it out, it's the general concept of the series is, it's like how you have, some apocalyptic event that caused a bunch of ruin, but it was caused in this world by what is if you had a Willy Wonka as a supervillain, I would assume. Because they have this company called the Toy Candy, and they sent out 100 of them, and if you ate one, you gained this ability to conjure some type of candy or sweet thing out of thin air. And at some point, somebody that had one that made lollipops just had these giant ones rain from the sky, crash into buildings, and it was the whole in the timeline, it was 5 years ago. Lollipops just kind of rained down and destroyed all of Tokyo, and there's no current knowledge if they're ever going to rebuild from the damage. So again, it's a really weird setup, but it has one of those over the top themes that can work out pretty well, depending on how it's handled. And I think if people can look past that for the first for the initial aspect of it, and just go off the characters, I think that it'll be pretty easy to do. Because the first time you see the main character, I'm trying to remember exactly how her name is pronounced. I think it's Sumugi or something, Sumugi or something along those lines. I'm scrolling to some of the chapters to remember how exactly her name is there. Because we really only get her, and then what I would assume is maybe the rival character in the series, or just the male lead. But the one girl, she's just hanging out. She's trying to go and get some food for breakfast, this cream puff, and they're out, but she kind of just charms some of these dudes into giving her one for free. She's just taking advantage of of these dudes to gain some of her, I would assume, favor, either favor, just wanting to have cream puffs. But right when she's getting ready to eat it, you have this guy who is on the run, and he's, I'm guessing, stealing stuff, probably robbing people. Throws he doesn't even throws, he forms a donut around her, and then she ends up dropping her cream puff and gets mad, and then before the guy even knows what happened, she just is out of the donut and has her massive lollipop and just swings it at him and ends up taking this dude down. And when I mentioned the plot of the series, one thing that is not really gone into in the series is whatever the large scale aspect of the story is. It's more of just what the main character's plot is right now, because they say that none of these no other sweet user has the same power, but she has the same power of whoever destroyed Tokyo. So that's actually a really interesting plot point right there to set up, because if she gets found out, she might get blamed for this big calamity that happened to Tokyo 5 years ago. So she could be on the run, and keeping that as a mystery in the series could be part of it. A big thing for me for the series is whether or not it's going to be more serious or more comedic, whether it's more of something with comedy in it, but it's more of a battle, kind of serious series, or if it would be a gag series. Based off the first chapter, I think it's going to be a little bit more serious. And like I said, that was one of the things I was really worried about it. Like, I didn't really want to have a gag series because then, I wouldn't be able to take it too seriously. It'd just be like a weekly kind of chuckle as things go. But there seems to be a plot to this. So I'm excited to see where that exactly goes, because at the end of the chapter, it does seem like, at least for this one dude, her identity is given away. So I'm guessing she's going to have to... Oh, yeah, that's her name. Tsumugi, I think that's her first name. I'm guessing because it's like her friends talking to her. They're probably calling her by her first name. But this other dude who's like a new member of her class is part of the Recite. I don't know how exactly like the group is group name is pronounced. They're like these police people hunting down the sweet users that are like these criminals out there causing danger. And I'm guessing it's like the same thing of like a setup of something like, I was just thinking of something similar to like Static Shock with like the God, what are they called in Tokyo Ghoul? Like the Dove dudes, the security force dudes. It's like that, where it's like you have all of these people suddenly gain these powers, and then this weird kind of anti-fighting group is after them. But in this setup, like the dude's using a fork. I would assume it has some form of other power besides just being a big fork. Maybe it has its own kind of like enhancements, and it can like break down like their like weird food-based abilities. Again, like the premise of like everything that it's set around is like the weirdest aspect I would assume to get that you'd have to get used to in order to go for the series. But like I said, if you're looking into it, I would definitely recommend paying more attention to the characters as you get used to like the weird candy aspect of it. But like there's a part where the main girl Tsumugi, she's like walking home and she sees like a pig in a box. I'm guessing maybe like the pig will become her pet at some point, if it comes back, because it's weird otherwise that there's just a pig in a box. But she's like kind of making fun of it a little bit, and then is sad that because she's talking it like it's sad, and she's saying how it might rain. It's like, well, it's your fault for not having any way to deal with the rain, and you don't go crying and expecting other people to solve your problems. But on the way, like while she leaves, like one of her friends is like talking about she doesn't have her umbrella, and you end up seeing that she left it for the pig. So she's got what seems like a kind of like rough personality in some areas, but she's still like a really nice person at heart. And then like you have her meeting the one dude in school, like the guy who's part of like the food police unit kind of group, and she's like trying to be all kind of casual with him, but she realizes that he's suspicious of her over what happened earlier, because that one sweet user dude was taken out before he even got there. So obviously it's kind of like odd that this dude is unconscious and this one girl is just kind of there. So he's just doing his thing. It's kind of weird because he's displayed a little bit like he's not that smart in the chapter, but at the same time he's got like a detective job that's going on. Though I will say like the kind of hook right now I would recommend so far with this is the main character is pretty good. I do like her so far. I like her, just her personality doesn't seem kind of plain at the moment. I like how she's got a little bit of that like a little bit that kind of like rougher side to her, but also she's got like some awkwardness when she's like trying to talk to this one dude who just won't stop hitting her, and she's just like trying to explain to him, no thanks, all right, you're good, man. And it has like at the same time shows her probably like what level of restraint she has in regular life, because we've seen that when she's mad, she's pretty ready to fight. Like with the one dude, like the donuts, he made her drop her cream puff, and she immediately was ready just to fight this dude. And we've seen that she like her actual personality is a little bit more of that, like a little bit more of a close to an aggressive nature, not like vicious, but like she's just ready. She's ready to throw hands. So I would assume that like this guy that might be bugging her a little, like it probably takes a little bit of restraint just to kind of deal with him, and not just use whatever her supernatural abilities to kind of deal with him. But then you get like this really nice shot when she's talking to the one student. Let me go back to see what exactly his name is. Midori Misaki. I'm guessing Midori's his first name. I don't know. I'll have to wait a couple chapters, probably get used to it. But like she's talking to him, and there's this really nice shot where you just see out beyond Like, everything beyond, like, a couple buildings is just ruined. It's just, everything is in devastation. And they said it's been 5 years, and no one's thought about just rebuilding it. No one knows if anything's going to go down. So, the tone of the series, again, in that aspect, I think has a lot of potential. It reminds me a lot of Dolly Kill Kill, if anybody's read that series. Because the monsters, the aliens, looked very kind of goofy. They just looked like these big, weird, kind of silly doll-like monsters. But it was actually really spooky the way that they would just, like, murder people and, like, genetically alter people. And they would set up all these terrifying, like, little zones. And I'm hoping that we can get more than just 100 people with powers. Maybe there's monsters. Because I think the food aspect of it has, like... You're able to use a lot of a lot of themes and materials maybe for like monsters and horror that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise, because like the devastation that was shown with like the lollipops, that you've taken something that is very kind of baseline and like either you want to use silly or kind of happy material and then turn it into this darker piece of imagery in the series where you have all these that probably killed who knows how many people, all this, laid all about. So if you can take even the idea of a candy and then have like a monster themed around it, you can probably make something both really cool and really scary. I don't really know. It would be really, like, I'm just thinking of like almost like a Nightmare Willy Wonka thing. And at the same time, it's one of those things you have to think about it that it could be kind of silly, but also kind of like really creepy and cool. But at the same time, it's not like you can't have a character with like a food power that isn't like really popular and badass. You can look at like Katakuri for One Piece. His whole thing is it's based off of a like starch candy, whatever mochi's made out of. I think it's like some weird cornstarch based thing. But like it's a candy based power, and he's a very popular character in the series. It's a silly power in the way that you would think about it, but it's utilized really cool. And that's one of the things I think has the potential in this series. Maybe you can try and that would be the first kind of people maybe they'll try and grab. It's like, hey, Katakuri fans, do you want a battle action series themed similar to that of your boy? I think that would actually be pretty neat, and just that's like the first responding fans to come over to this series. I don't know. Again, it's really odd. I've generally liked series that take a theme and do it very over the top, that's kind of rooted into it, and they take it very seriously. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! I like Beyblade, Beat 'em On. What's the one series? I'm trying to remember. Metabot, stuff like that. Like anything that's along those lines. If you looked at like a picture of it and you had no context, it'd be like, this is like what the series is about. But if you actually get into the series and you understand like their world and like the way that the characters kind of operate, it has just its own kind of like more immersive tone to it. And I think that's always really fun when you have to just be more kind of like understanding of the setup and the setting of the story to understand how something can be serious or things can really kind of go down. Because like the first monster, like chapter 1 bad guys are usually pretty much just like set up to get beaten up to kind of like have a display of the main character. You have like the guy from earlier, but he's like mutated. Like the donut guy has like this big donut body, and he's like 5 or 6 times taller, and he's getting ready to attack Tsumugi, and you have like a flashback, and that's when you find out like she's like, oh, there's no 2 sweet users that are the same, but she's the only one that has the same one, and it's of the person that caused like the calamity of Tokyo. And when the one dude Midori comes in, she's like, she's capable of defeating this guy, but he's not. Like he's definitely hurt, or at least maybe because like he when he came to help her, he got injured. But he's getting ready to fight this dude, and I would have liked to see what exactly this fork does. Like, is it literally just a weapon, or does it have like a power, or some form of this kind of bonus to it? Because again, I like the imagery of it. I think the series can give a lot of really cool just general imagery and uniqueness. That if it can pull off and manage to keep going, it will have like just its own level of standout kind of style within the series, within like Shonen Jump, because it's definitely a plus if you can survive and then have your own unique, just general unique vibe. that you're gonna hold like one selective set of fans at the very least, or just have like a level of imagery that can just stand out in general is always really fun, and it draws attention. And that was one of the things I think was really cool about like early Chainsaw Man. And obviously that's like different because that's like way more dark and gory. But like if you can get some cool, like again, just thinking about it, I'm just thinking of something like if you had some form of weird, like kind of what's the one monster, the Blob, but maybe it's like taffy or something. You can get something that is just a really cool visual horror. Like I'm just thinking of some like abomination, like Cthulhu nightmare type kind of like weird candy creatures, which again is weird, but it'd be cool to see, but at the same time it'd just be like, what am I looking at kind of thing. And that's one of the things again I think would be fun. But Tsumugi, she just runs off while the dude is trying to fight him because she's worried about like revealing her identity of having this similar power. Maybe she'll be able to convince him like an understanding that it wasn't her. And it could be something that could be like maybe the first parts of the story is him just trying to win her, or her trying to win him over. But she runs up this building and then jumps off and summons her giant lollipop. And again, this thing is huge. And she would have to have like high speed to get to this building in time. It makes sense on top of that because like the creature, like the dude turned and took attention off of her and went for him, took attention off of him and went for her. So obviously it would be going after the stronger opponent. And she jumps off the side of the building, so I would assume that she would have to have a high enough level of durability to land after hitting this thing and not like break her legs or just die from impact. So that's a nice thing, just like showing in the first point of the chapter. But she goes and smashes like the lollipop onto this big donut monster and ends up taking it out. And then you have like all these shards like raining down. And again, this would look so cool, I think, visually in an anime. I think that's one of the things that like this series could hold like highly. Just like imagine an anime and it's all colored, and every single like scene against the monsters and creatures and stuff is gonna just look so visually appealing because it's all gonna be very colorful. But at the end of it, I like the turn where this one dude Midori is not kind of like instantly at least like trying to work out something. He's like, no, I'm suspicious of you, that you're this criminal, and I'm gonna try and arrest you. And there was this cool part where she's saying how if anybody ever found out of her ability, then no one would ever believe her, and she doesn't want people to think that she's the same person as the one that causes devastation that everybody hates. But at the same time, she's like, she doesn't think anyone would believe her, but it's okay in this case if she doesn't, because she's always wanted to say that those weren't like from her, which is probably something that's just been eating in her head the whole time. Like she's been clearly very aware of that people will probably just assume that was her, and then that would pretty much make her like a huge terrorist in their eyes and like a murderer. So her like having this potential crime that she didn't commit like always be a looming possibility to be branded onto her is like a really interesting aspect in the plot as well. I actually really am hoping that this gets some time, at least to get some distance, because I would like to see what exactly the author has in mind. And I like the art. I think the art looks good, especially like the color page at the beginning. I think that just the very bright and colorful nature of the series as well, it just looks visually very appealing. So I would like to see it, see where it goes. And there's not a lot right now in Shonen Jump that I get super excited about. Like I liked, I have Black Clover right now. I was hyped for Chainsaw Man. I really liked Chainsaw Man. It was coming out, and I was hyped for Build King, but unfortunately Build King got axed. And this is a series with potential that I could see really liking. Just because, like I said, I do like series that have like a very weird theme that you have to kind of just like think about something like Beyblades, and it's like the whole world is centered around this whole game. Like you have these weird, highly technologically advanced spinning tops that have spirits in them sometimes, and dudes are making them attack each other for sport. Like, it's weird if you really think about it, but if you watch the show, you like the show, especially growing up, you were able to immerse yourself in the topic, so you were able just to enjoy what it was for what it, what it had for you to kind of experience. You weren't limiting your, a good, fun story just because, like, the premise is strange. So, I look forward to this. I'm hoping it does well. Like I said, at least coming out of the first chapter, I like the potential plots set up with like Tsumugi being, trying to make sure she doesn't get blamed for this crime. I like her power, like in general. She's like it's neat to see her like conjure these big lollipop weapons that she can just smash into somebody. Because again, they have to be really heavy. That has to be heavy, and she is smashing into people. We see it like she's swinging so hard on top of that it explodes. Like she's swinging enough to break. And then we're gonna be seeing, I'm guessing, more of like a combat-based fight in the next chapter or so. So I look forward to this. I think this is gonna be pretty neat. It's really gonna depend on how Japan, receives it early on. Maybe they'll like it. I think that the entire general setup is good. And like I said, I like the main character. I think that's one of the things that is like a strong opening point of this series as well. I think Tsumugi is pretty likable in the first chapter. And she has this kind of personality that has, that's funny, but I like how when we see, like, say, the one dude make her drop her cream puff, or she's mad, she's quick to action, but also when something is serious and she might need to help somebody, she's also quick to action to go out there even at risk of herself. Because I think she realizes she might be able to convince him that it wasn't her, and then he'll keep her secret. And maybe that's why exactly he'll be the male lead in this series, and I think that's more fitting than a rival or anything for her. So we'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to the next chapter. I think that this has a good starting point. I'm definitely going to recommend some people give it a try. It's one of those ones that will probably be like, I don't know if I really want to start that right now, just because, again, the strangeness of it. But I think it's fun so far, and I'd like to see where exactly the story could go. Because, like I said, I think that the weirdness of it could attract like a good level of just fresh nature to the story. Because though Chainsaw Man is really cool, because like it got really dark in some areas and it could get really gory. One of the things I liked about it is because it was still shonen, but it was doing it in a very different manner that just had a really fresh vibe to it. And that's one of the things I can see in this to a degree, at least from the first chapter. Who knows how it'll go beyond this. But I thought this was a pretty good first one. I liked it. I just really would like to see kind of the opening act of like the next couple chapters and how like the tone of the series is really going to be. Like how's the dynamic between these two, between Tsumugi and Midori? What are some of like the bad guys going to be like? How is she like in a fight? Like I'm hoping maybe in the next couple chapters we can see like a one chapter scuffle or something. Maybe her kind of moving while she fights as well, kind of just seeing how she is in mid combat. Because that is another thing, or at least right now, is a lot of Shonen Jump readers right now don't wait around as much for series to kind of like get the ball rolling. They want to see stuff fast and action packed early on to get the hook. And it's unfortunate, it's one of those things, but I'm hoping that this mangaka has that set up, or at least enough to kind of draw some attention over to what's going on with this. And also, is it only going to be 100 power users? Is there going to be other kind of like factions? I assume at least there's like the Recite or whatever, Reciti or whatever, like the bad guy, or the food police, like sweet police group is called. We have those guys. So at least kind of like it'd be like the Tokyo Ghoul kind of ghouls and the Dove setup, where you have the people with the powers and the people who have like these enhanced like special tools that they can use to fight these other dudes with. So we'll see. I definitely, like I said, I definitely look forward to the next chapter. I think the manga has a Twitter, so if you're liking this, I definitely would recommend going, maybe giving them a follow. And giving your thoughts on the series. I thought this first one again was good, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know if there's any other new one-shots coming up. I think there's a few. I don't know when exactly they're slotted to come out, because I did see there was some opening, but I don't know if that was anything of like within the week or something. I think June is something that I read, June or July. There's a couple. I've said before, I don't really like, I can read certain like maybe like more comedic kind of like smaller series, and like I read right now also the it's not an action series, but one series, Witch Watch. Like the action kind of like ones, or the plots are more the ones that I do for my channel, because I think there's just more for me to talk about, more for me to kind of get invested and look at. Whereas like the comedic series, I don't really have enough to talk about, and then like something like Witch Watch is more fun just to read in some areas. Like I like the main character, but other than that, like the other characters are in it. But it's more of like a slice of life where I'm just kind of reading it like chapter by chapter. Whereas like something like this, with like I said, the plot opening with her having this potential big crime, like you know, hanging behind her, she could get blamed for, is a, you know, it's a plot point that I can see being set up, and something that I can kind of like wonder how it's going to be handled in the future of the series. So that's something that I've mentioned I enjoy in general of series that I can review. If there's something that I can try and figure out for the future, at least speculate in advance. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up, leave a friend, like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Run that, appreciate it, enjoy, subscribe. Thank you all for listening. Bye.